Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Harry.
And I'm Matthew, and behind us is Honda's first EV in New Zealand.
Not only that, but it's also their first EV in this new EN platform. Come and let's have a look at this.
Here in New Zealand, we know Honda really well for their hybrid powertrains and the fuel efficiency that comes from there. But this is officially their first electric car to make it to our shores. Although for a brief period in time, there were a series of Honda E's that were privately imported as well. And of course, who can forget about those cute little sort of city or urban electric cars? This, however, is more like, well, it looks a lot like an HRV, and effectively it's essentially its electric sibling, if you like, meant to address that compact SUV or crossover segment which is ever so popular in our country. Key design changes to note, if you were to look at it alongside a petrol or a hybrid powered HRV, of course, are in the front here, where all of a sudden there's no grille. Instead you get this sort of filled in flap. Note the Honda badge there, and again, very sort of flush, very aerodynamic, as it's meant to be, to help that efficiency along. There's two color options at the moment. This is the platinum white pearl. There is also an aqua topaz, which would be my pick of the two. It looks really good as the hero color for this EN1. You do get these 18-inch black diamond cut alloy wheels as well that complement nicely with the car and give you a good sort of comfortable ride with the thickness of the tires on there. Walking further down, as I mentioned, that this is meant to sit in that sort of compact SUV crossover segment, and the dimensions kind of put it there perfectly. So it's about 4.38 meters long, just about 1.6 roundabout there tall, and the width is just shy of 1.8 meters. So perfect for those urban environments, maneuverability, parking, all of that stuff is a breeze when it's shaped like this. There's no denying the fact that Honda are making a big noise about this being their first ever EV. I mean, just look at the imagery on the doors there. There's no mistaking it for anything else. Speaking of the doors, actually, open them up and they are full length there, so you don't get your trousers dirty, which of course I'm a big fan of. And as you keep walking further back, it's got this sort of coupe SUV look to it. So there's no door handle up here. Instead, you do get this sort of handle which is hidden away on the quarter of the window, just like an HRV. Continuing around the rear, where again the design is similar in a way to an HRV, but distinguished uniquely by certain elements that Honda have sort of manufactured into this EN1. So firstly, let's talk about that light bar going all across. So you've got this LED light bar, and in the front, of course, complementing those LED headlights, making it look sort of unique, and you can tell that this is not an HRV. In fact, it is a EN1 just by looking at those lights. Nice big bold badging, of course, to remind you of what the car is. And with this new EV and this EN series, Honda are very much talking about this, their evolution, and a certain, like, using the word evolve a lot, and you can see that it says that on the back of the car as well, Evolve Series 1, obviously highlighting the EV bit of the Evolve name as well. Something else that they've been going with this EN range of cars is this sort of like future nostalgic kind of badging, if you like, and this is not the only place we'll see these letters. It'll be on the front as well in a couple of different places, but I'll point that out in just a second. Now, once you open the boot, notice there's no electronic tailgate. It is manual, but what you do get access to is 348 liters of boot space, and I've got to say, really low load lip, a flat floor on the boot, and the seats fold down 60/40 as well to give you a lot of different ways in which you can store your luggage in there. Another thing to note is that it is dual level, so you can move the shelf further down if you want a little bit of extra space, and it's got a few nooks as well here and there to give you a bit more usability of your storage space back here. Under the bonnet, you don't actually get any additional storage space. Instead, you've got this cool sort of retro modern kind of Honda logo there, And that's not the only place we see that badge. Obviously, you've just seen it on the back of the car. But if I pop open this flap, you'll see that once again, there's that sort of new look Honda badging as part of this EN platform that they've essentially come up with. Now, opening up this flap, firstly, you'll notice that it doesn't actually fold away cleanly, and there's a very good design purpose behind that. What it's meant to do is instead shield the charging port from rain and all of that sort of thing. So to keep it clean, keep the water away from the electricity, because of course we do like that. And speaking of electricity, now this EN1 has a 68.8 kilowatt hour battery, and it's been claimed on a WLTP cycle to give about 412 kilometers versus on an NEDC cycle where it's been returning about 500 kilometers. It gives you a peak power output of 150 kilowatts, and you get something like 310 newton meters of peak torque. So very respectable figures there. Charging the battery, well, on a DC charger, you can get a 30 to 80% jump in about 40 minutes. And Honda warranties the battery for 8 years or 160,000 kilometers. So pretty good peace of mind from that respect as well.
And the serenity that Matt mentions is definitely something that you'll get as you migrate from a hybrid or a petrol car to an EV such as this. And this theme sort of continues in a few other things that you can spot around the cabin of the EN1. For starters, you'll get these seats here. They are leather appointed. They have 8-way adjustment for the driver's seat, but unfortunately they don't have heating, which is something that you would probably expect from an EV, so you can enjoy some of the range and some of the comfort without having to rely on the heat pump that is available in here. But in terms of storage, then it is a really good space in here, because you get this armrest storage down here. You get 2 cup holders that are very deep that you can use for other bits of storage as well, and then a pad for the wireless charging of your phone. However, you actually get 6 more cup holders scattered throughout the cabin, including of course the 4 ones that you get back there. There is an interesting mix between the materials that are used across the dashboard and the door cards. You get this inlay in here that mixes this white and blue stitching, again very sort of congruent with the idea for the Honda Evolve with their EV stuff, that is complemented by the ambient lighting that we have here running in blue across that whole inlay as well. The materials might not exactly be as premium as what you would get even on an HR-V, so it's definitely clear that they are making way for the cost added from the EV powertrain and other parts of the car. Another interesting choice, let's call it that, is the over-reliance on the shiny black plastic. As you can probably see here, the center console is entirely covered in that material, and while they have made some interesting choices to free up a little bit more space, it just means that there is even more surfaces to be covered in shiny black plastic, which looks great right now, but maybe not so much in a few years. You get a interesting implementation for the gear selector in here, because it sort of follows the same layout that you would get on a normal lever, but then there are just buttons in this case in here. And then further down below, you would then get your drive mode selector, your parking brake, and then the brake hold. And the bold choice that Honda have went with for the EN1 is that now you have this portrait screen in here, and what they have done is that they have split this implementation into 3 different sections, one of which to cover one specific bit of your experience with the car. The first one down below has to do with your climate, so it is available at all times, even when you turn the screen off, and it will bring everything that you want to do to climatize the cabin available to you all the time. So you can flick between different speeds for your ventilation, turn on and off the AC, and even do things with your dual climate temperature and all of that. The one up above is what you would usually get in other Honda cars, where it has this very familiar landing page in here that will take you through all the different apps that you have. So CarPlay, Android Auto, the trip computer, everything to do with your EV settings, all of this is accessible through this middle part of the screen in here. So one of the things that you can see that of course is exclusive to the EN1 is that if you go to the EV menu, then you have the ability to customize charging settings or climatize the cabin before you get to the car. So all those things that we really like about EVs. But then the section up top is the one that is actually reserved to your phone projection. So at this time here, we only have Asimo, the friendly Honda robot that is giving you a wave of hello with the clock in there, of course. But if you want to bring, say, CarPlay, in this case here, it is wireless and it is connected to my phone already, so you can see here how it will look. It can be left to be shown at all times, but you can also always go back to those views that we had earlier. And then even if you want to display only the climate settings, you can see that you can turn it all off and then have a more calm and less distracting view when you are driving. And then for the screen that you have here in front of the driver, as you can see, it is not as massive. It is just the right size, and it shows all the information that you would want to see while you are there out driving, because of course there is not a heads-up display for this car. But then here, for the things that you get on the left side of things, you can flick between different options for your trip computer. You can use this home button in here to flick between energy, speed and time, audio and phone specific configurations, navigation as well, and then everything to do with the safety support, because of course this car comes with a Honda sensing suite of driver assistances. So that means adaptive cruise control, emergency braking, a rear view camera, a rear cross traffic alert, blind spot monitoring. The list just goes on and on. The majority of those things can be toggled by using the spoke here on the right, and then the one on the left is reserved for your media controls. And then of course you also get two different pedal shifters in here that you can use to customize that driving bit a little bit further.
Now, the reason that Harry is driving, even though I was the one who reviewed the Honda HR-V Sport Hybrid when we had it a few months ago, the reason why he's behind the wheel is because he's actually driven that cute little Honda E before. So tell us, first impressions. This is obviously lifted, it's an SUV platform. How does that feel compared to that?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to have quite a lot of experience with the Honda E, and yeah, you're right. Not only was it cute on the outside and the inside, it was a very interesting first effort as a mass-produced EV. And now this is their second coming at it, and it's definitely a lot of the stuff that has been translated to this new platform. First of all, just how smooth and quiet and easy to interact everything is. It's such an easy car to live with, in the sense that there are no head scratchers anywhere. Everything makes sense. It is such a lovely drive, very relaxed. The power delivery makes sense. It's as a brand that we don't necessarily associate with EVs, it is a very interesting effort from them.
I think certainly not in this country as well, right? Because as far as efficiencies go, we know their hybrid technology, obviously their EHEV has improved significantly with this current generation of cars. But then, to another feather in their cap almost, add this EV powertrain to the list of variety you can get from Honda. And I think as far as choices go as a starting point, this is probably the best one to have, because of course the HR-V sits in this compact SUV crossover space. So why not choose this as the starting point for their EV kind of rollout in New Zealand?
I think that they have learned quite a bit from the hybrid powertrains that they have been making for quite a bit of time, right? And yes, at first it might seem that they just got slapped a battery and an EV motor to this, but at the end of the day, it is a car that does make sense, and it is, as you can probably tell, it's very quiet. It brings the refinement that maybe you don't get in the touch points that you interact with, but the quietness and how smooth everything is sort of makes up for it.
That's correct, actually. So while the kind of choice of plastics around here does seem a little bit sort of scratchy and not as plush as the HR-V, it's what they've done in terms of the sound deadening and all of that, I think, is where they've spent the money in that sense, because this is a really quiet, comfortable place to be. It eats up the bumps and the sort of undulations in the road and all of that extremely well, and you get this sort of peaceful sense of driving as you're going along. And the power that they've given it is it's not a sports car, it's not a performance EV, but it's enough. And not too long ago, that was kind of hot hatch or lukewarm hot hatch territory, that 150 kilowatts, 310
That's right.
Newton meters mix. And by it not carrying a massively heavy battery, it's plentiful, I think, for what you need. And a car like this will live in urban environments in the city, and you've got more than enough power for those sort of environments.
Yeah, and it sort of uses that quite well depending on the drive mode that you have. So at our disposal here we have 3. I have been driving an Eco for the majority of the time, but if you flick it to Sport, you can immediately tell that the regen changes a little bit, the power delivery gets a little bit more stabby, as you can see, and if you really mash it, it does give you all the 310 Newton meters and even a little bit of torque steer that makes it so much fun. It's really cool.
On a more serious note, though, I think we have to talk about that battery and the range, because the claimed figure on a WLTP cycle is about 412 kilometers. NEDC, of course, is 500. Again, they're a bit sort of off the pace there, but I think we've been sort of an expected range that we've been getting is probably about 350, 370 kilometers. So it's about 40 or 50 down from the WLTP cycle. But given the fact that it is winter as well and it has been raining, so those are kind of 2 of the key elements that tend to affect an EV's range, right? And we've been experiencing both of those throughout the week. Yes, it's a beautiful sunny day today, but it is crisp outside.
Okay, I get it. I'll bring it back to Eco, and now we will squeeze every single kilometer we can out of the battery. Yeah, it definitely needs to be taken into account that the range figures are a little bit on the optimistic side, and of course that your driving conditions and behavior will influence that for sure.
Although on Honda's part, they have done whatever they can to make sure it's as efficient as possible out the gate with, rather than having a traditional air conditioning system, for example, it has that heat pump, of course, which is turning this interior into an Aga now. And they have made it efficient wherever they could. And, the figures it actually returns are quite impressive. But despite that, we are on track for something like 350 or 370 kilometers. So build that into your, I guess, expected range, I think.
Yeah, and your decision making for the purchase, right?
But at the same time, as we covered, that this is very much an urban, city-friendly SUV, and that amount of range is plentiful, right? For a week's drive, say, for somebody who lives in a city or in an urban environment.
I agree, and it is such an interesting size, right? It is just the right size, considering that it could be either for a couple or for a small family, that it would be able to take the space for the people that are at the back, this being a 5-seater, right? And also the luggage that it takes at the back. The only thing that we sort of missed here was the magic seats, which is something that Honda have always been famous for offering in cars of this size, and it might compromise a little bit of the practicality.
At the same time, the fact that it allows you to seat 3 at the back is, it's about give and take, and I think they have, while it doesn't have the magic seats, you can fold them down, and you do get that ability to have 3 at the back, so it's a question of where your priorities lie, I think, as a buyer. So there you have it. It's Honda's first stab officially at the EV market in New Zealand. It's their first car on this EN platform as well. EN1, obviously the name. I think they've done a good job. They took a good recipe that they had with this compact SUV crossover, added that electric powertrain for extra choice, and it's done in a very Honda way. It's well made, it's quiet, it has enough power for what you need, and the convenience and the practicality as well that comes with a car of this size.
I totally agree. Yeah, it gets it done in a Honda way. I really like the way that you put it. It sort of uses this last mover advantage of not being the first one to the market, because let's be honest, it's been a while since we last saw an EV from Honda. And yeah, as an urban kind of car, it really gets many of the parts of the brief done. Yes, I wish it had a few things that it doesn't, but at the end of the day, it is a package that I think will be compelling to a lot of people.
It's missing a few of the bells and whistles, I think, where luxuries are concerned, but it still has plenty of equipment for the price, and of course the electric powertrain as well, advantage there. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and don't forget to tune into the channel and our TV show as well. See you on the next one.
See ya.